I'm having lunch with Susie Stubbs, author of the Travels with My Baby blog at the Cup in the Northern Quarter in Manchester. So, Susie, would you like to tell us a bit about yourself and your blog?
Yeah, I started my blog about 18 months ago, in fact about 20 months ago when my son was a little boy, well a little baby, and I started it as a way of retaining my sanity with a newborn baby, because if you're stuck in the house all day with a tiny squalling child, it gets a little bit claustrophobic. So my son and I started doing day trips and using mainly public transport, going to galleries and museums and parks and shops and gardens, and then we started writing about it on a blog, and the blog tells little stories about what we've done, and it also gives some kind of useful information.
There's a baby here, you can hear a baby in the... That was a happy scream, we have to report. It must have been when they sampled some of the food here, they went, oh, this is good.
My blog won Blog of the Year last year in the Manchester Blog Awards.
Well, that's a real accolade, isn't it? Because there's quite a few bloggers around Manchester.
There is in Manchester. The Manchester blog scene's really strong and some really good writing. And when I won, I was gobsmacked. I'm usually quite gobby and have a lot to say for myself, but I didn't at that point because I couldn't believe it. And what was really nice about that was the fact that the people who voted it for the awards said that it wasn't a twee baby blog. Given the subject matter, it was really interesting and interesting to people who didn't have kids, which was lovely.
And helpful, maybe hints for other people about days out or how to manage the possible pitfalls of certain days out, you know, forewarned is forearmed sort of
yeah, and also there are a few places I've been where I haven't had a great experience with taking myself.
I can imagine. it is tricky, and even some people's attitudes towards kids when you're travelling, because I never forget a lady on a plane tour from Germany, and she had 2 young kids with her, and as we were getting off the plane I went over and said, you know, can I help you, maybe hold the toddler's hand, carry your bag, and she looked, her jaw dropped open, because she said, I do this trip frequently, I think her husband was German, so she was going back and forward to her parents and lot, and she said, you're the first person that's ever offered to help me, and I said, what? What an attitude.
It's really strange. Some people are really wonderful and really go out of their way to help you. And actually what's lovely with travelling around with a baby is that a lot of people do just talk to you because you've got a kid.
Oh, they like to coo over the baby.
Yeah, and that's really lovely. But I've been shouted at on a bus before for taking my buggy on the first night.
Oh, what a crime.
I was quite shocked, but there's some random old men shouting at me for it. And I've been stood at bottoms of steps before now, looking up at them and thinking, how the hell am I going to get my buggy out?
And nobody helped.
People have screamed past me, and so in the end, but what's quite good is the blog makes me go out and about. So when I have a bad experience, I think, right, now I'm going to go out and do something else and try again, and then you have a really great experience. And it also makes you a bit more assertive having a kid, so I'm quite happy to ask for help when I need it.
But don't you think in some ways, I know I'm guilty of this myself, it's easier to dwell on a few negative experiences than to revel in the positive one, because, you know, what they say, if something bad happens to someone, they're likely to tell, well, I don't know, the 20, 25 people, if something good happens, they'll tell 2 or 3. So I think it is important to sort of focus on the positive things, and that, you know, there are a good number of people who will be helpful, whatever, when you're out with that. You know, some stories like this one we went on the plane are just so awful that they really stick in your mind, which in a way is maybe unfortunate, because, you know, there are helpful, kind people
there
around.
There are lots of lovely people. I think most of the time people just don't think.
I think that's what it is. Everybody's in their own wee world and stressed and rushing to this appointment, frightened to speak to strangers in case they're just suspicious, fearful, just easier not to make contact with anybody.
And when people are busy and in a rush, or I think what's been interesting for me becoming a mum is that I've become a lot more sympathetic and a lot more helpful to other people. So when I'm not out and about with my son, I kind of, I'm mindful of other people now in a way that I probably wasn't when I was a young, carefree gadabout.
Yeah, that's right. Oh well, thanks for telling us about your blog, Travels with My Baby, and I'm sure you'll have a lot of not just moms, maybe dads as well, who go out with their babies, because I think in some ways it's unfortunate that, well, I know in the States referred to as the mommy blogs, and it is mainly women that write them, but I think, well, what about the daddy blogs? Because I know a lot of guys are quite involved with their kids now, and I'm wondering if some of them are getting a bit hacked off them. I'm sure there must be some family blogs that are written by guys, but
There are, yeah.
keep me right there, guys, but most of the ones I've come across with have been written by females, and I think, no, there should be some things for guys. Obviously, a lot of things you say for travelling around with a baby are going to be relevant to either gender, but I just sometimes think there's too much emphasis on it being the mommy rather than the family, or maybe they'd call them pop blogs in the States, I don't know.
Daddy blogs.
Pop blog sounds too much like pot, but never mind. Anyway, thanks very much for talking to us and telling us about your